Old school RuneScape's one chunk Iron Man mode gives a lot, but it takes even more. It forces you to experience the game in its rawest form. You can't just skip the boring stuff. You have to do everything, whether Jagex planned it or not. And the craziest part? No one's ever played it quite like you. Things start to get real once you unlock death chunks. Suddenly, the items you own, the NPCs you've met, and the chunks you've stepped into aren't just progress, they're your fate. Because in this game mode, one man's death chunk is another man's free roll. Take the Champions Guild for instance. A forgettable chunk for most, but for us, a soul-crushing mining and smithing grind. Over 140,000 ores stand between us and freedom. But after more than 1,000 grueling hours, the end of the grind is finally within my sights. So what now, folks? Do we unlock new land and push forward in our defense of Gielinor against the Majorat? Or are we about to spiral into something evil? Something just sinister? Let's find out. Roll the intro. Nobody knew that everything was about to change. Nothing ever happens here in Lumbridge. That is, until the Majorat showed up and plunged all we knew into darkness. My name is Chunk Quest, and I'm on a journey to bring Gielinor back to the light. Chunk by chunk, completing tasks will allow me to expel the Blight with the ultimate goal of liberating all of Gielinor's major cities. Sure, right now I know I don't look like much, but one day, I'll be unstoppable. A man can dream, can't he? Welcome to Chunk Quest, Descent into Darkness. We've got a massive episode ahead today because we are finally escaping our very first death chunk. Last time we wrapped up 850 hours deep in the Champions Guild chunk. Most of that was spent buried in the Lumbridge Swamp West, hacking away at coal on our way to 82,300 ore. But we're not done yet. In this episode, we finish the coal and tack on another 37,000 iron ore for good measure. Why? Because the chunk task demands it. 70 smithing just to smelt a single adamant bar using nothing but the Lumbridge furnace. Oh, and somewhere in the middle of all of that, we'll hit 90 mining for a tier 9 shooting star, but honestly, with the amount of rocks we're about to break, that part's basically free. But before we dive headfirst into the grind, a little bit of housekeeping. First off, thanks to all you legends out there, we just hit 2,000 subscribers, putting us 2/3 of the way to our goal of 3,000. I'll keep it short, but seriously, thank you. Your support has a real impact, and I couldn't be more proud of what we're building here. If you do want to be part of it, drop a like, hit subscribe, and make my day. And hey, there's now a brand new way to support the series. A site called Rotten Lobsters has popped up. Think IMBD, but for old school RuneScape content. It's quickly becoming an awesome hub for discovering top tier OSRS creators. I've linked the record for Chunk Quest Descent into Darkness down in the description. If you've got 30 seconds, drop by, give the series an honest rating. It helps way more than you guys would think. So shout out to my fanatics. You guys are incredible. Thank you so much. But folks, this death chunk is not going to solve itself. Let's get into it and see what road we're about to walk down, for better or worse. Alright folks, welcome back in. No surprise, we're still here in Lumbridge Swamp West, mining some coal. Right now, we're about 15k coal off our goal, and then we'll be switching things over to iron. I'm pretty excited to do some iron, and kind of just wish I did it from the start, despite how far it is away from a bank. That's kind of the thing that pushed me away from doing it in the first place, but doesn't matter, we'll be over there soon, and right now we've got a big level coming in. There is level 88 mining. Kinda crazy that mining is significantly the highest level on this account. Can't wait to stop doing it, but for now, that big 90 is gonna feel really good. You're going to be seeing a lot of milestones because the progress of mining isn't exactly very titillating. Isn't that a great word? Titillating. But yeah, we're going to need 82,774 coal ores to finish the coal portion of our 70 smithing grind, and I am pleased to announce that we are now in the final stretch. 80,000 coal ores are now in my bank. When you're dealing with a stack of ore this big without any monster drops or what have you, it feels pretty surreal. absolutely insane that we've mined this many. I've mined all of these 28 at a time. 28 at a time, and we now have 80,000. Oh, today is the best day, baby! Want to know something about coal? It's totally shit. Just an awful rock. But today is the day that we finally break out of Lumbridge Swamp West and move on to bigger, and most importantly, faster things. We are currently mining our final inventory of coal, bringing our stack up over 82,774. Heck, I even managed to save a beginner casket to celebrate, so stay tuned for that. Oh, I feel like a kid on Christmas morning. Let's go stab this dragon in the neck, baby. It's done. It is done. 6 long, grueling months later, we finally hit our goal. I hope we never have to go back there. Ideally, we will be able to roll like Giant's Foundry or something before our next smithing grind, but yeah, that would be so huge. Really, we just need any anvil that's not like a mile away, but hopefully we won't have to worry about that for a bit. Let us click deposit for the final time here. What a beautiful coal stack. Wow, that feels good to get done. All right, and of course, we're going to pop open this beginner clue in celebration. Surely a mountain of riches await after this task. Give it a spin for good luck. And so here's the plan with the iron. We're going to need a total of 41,387 iron to finish up the mining portion of the death chunk. Obviously, still a lot of work to do, but it's faster than coal, and we need less of it. Now, I did some time tracking, and it seems the fastest way of getting up here is by canoe, rather than using the Draenor Manor stepping stones, and it's faster by like 10-15 seconds, so well worth skipping out on some of the minor agility XP, as nice as it is to get. Oh my god, okay, scratch that. Apparently you come up in the Champions Guild chunk, but in order to get back, I need the adjacent chunk. Like, why the hell would you do that? I demand answers, Jagex, but okay. Calculations are out the window, I guess, guys. We're going to be taking a whole lot of trips on these stepping stones. Another day, another moment on the edge of greatness, my friends. As you can see here, we're 94% of the way to 89 mining, which is very, very neat. But we're also up to 10,000 iron ore mined, a few more of those stacks, and we're going to be laughing all the way to the furnace. Well, no shocker that after being that close, here's our 89 mining clip. Look, guys, my wins right now are few and far between. Clap for me, please. Please. Let me show you what we're working with in terms of a banking route. Well, it's bad. The order in which we got these chunks is so ass. We're going from the Champs Guild all the way down the right side of Draenor, through the Ham Hideout, all the way back to Lumbridge Castle, for banking and then doing it all over again. It's absolutely awful. Smithing is bad enough as it is, but when you have one of these kind of walks, it's just terrible, man. Like, one chunk is so fun, but some of the situations that you're going to get into are just, again, so ass. We've been on PvP Worlds for so long just because of that bank chest in the middle of Lumbee Courtyard, and I was desperately missing randoms, so every now and then for the rest of this grind, I'll hop until I get one. You know, the Bob event's one of my favorites. Let's see if we get fishing or magic XP. We're going to get fishing XP, and I think that's going to get us a level. Yeah, 21 fishing. We've never ever caught a fish, but we're on our way. Deep breath. Exhale our demons. There's 20,000 coal, almost halfway there. Peak entertainment. I don't know if this is a bot or a noob or what's up, but I'm hoping this mugger takes them out. Entertainment is few and far between right now, so we take what we can get. We want blood. Give us blood. That's what I'm talking about. R.I.P. Enjoy Lumbridge, baby doll. You definitely don't get a lot of them while mining. Clues from mining come pretty slow, let alone clues that you can do within your own chunk. But we got a beginner here, and I don't know what we're even still looking for. I think mole slippers would be cool. Maybe some black equipment, an axe or a pickaxe would be good. Would like either of those things for sure. See what we get.
Huh?
2 black robes. What are the chances of that? I don't even know if they're an upgrade on our ham robes, to be honest, but whatever. That's kind of cool. It's certainly a rare sight to see so many One Chunk clan members here in Lumbridge, but when the homies need a 99 celebration, you don't let the homies down. Big shout out to Crazy Chunks on 99 strength. Gonna cap it off with this goblin here on the Bridge of Lum. There it is. And most of all, thank you for giving me something different to do for a couple minutes. I really appreciate some diversity here. Mining is giving me brain damage. Look at what my dumb ass does here. Instead of feeding the fish to Bob, I just left the event like an idiot, man. Missed out on some fishing, magic experience. Yeah, I got brain damage, man. I just got Rock Golem on the main. That's so sick. I've been one of those guys that have always said skilling pets don't exist because I got a lot of 99s now and haven't gotten one yet, but right before 99, thank goodness, there is the Rock Golem. Alright, subtle flex, back to Chunk Quest. Guys, it's been 8 months or so since I rolled this chunk. We've been mining for so long, but every second we inch closer and closer to our goal, and I think it's time for a nice, this changes everything moment. Here is 90 mining, a massive goal for us because it finally makes one of our 2 remaining chunk tasks viable. We can now mine a tier 9 shooting star, so I'm going to pull up the star tracker and hopefully sooner than later we can complete our first task in a long, long time. It's happening! About a day and a half after hitting 90, a T9 star has just dropped in World 552 at the Champions Guild, so we're going to head over and smash it up and complete our first chunk task in, God, maybe 7+ months. It's been a long, long time. See how fast it happens with a steel pickaxe. Oh, there we are. Mine a size 9 shooting star. Chunk task complete. What a grind that was. Shame we still have more to do. Dopamine, 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 dopamine. 30,000 iron ore is now chilling in the bank, which means we're about 12k iron ore away from beginning a long but fantastically electric smelting grind. Surely a stale baguette, right guys? Right guys? Chocolate bar. Fuck off. One step beginner from our pal Hands here. Might as well stop to check our age too before we open it. Oh wow. You guys smell that? Smells like gamer bucket. What can I say, guys? I grind for this content, man. Alright, let's see what's in the beginner. 5 cabbages. Wow, cabbage. Now, we don't need any more mining levels for our current tasks, but anything over 90 should always be celebrated. Here is 91 mining, quite possibly the last level we're gonna get in this grind. Things are really shaping up and the end is near, my friends. Buddy, I could cry, man. Over 210 days after rolling our first death chunk, we are about to mine our final piece of iron we need before we get into the smithing portion of this grind. After doing this every day for so many months, it doesn't feel real that I'm actually allowed to stop, but we did something incredible. We mined 41,387 iron ore at the Champions Guild, banking in Lumbridge, and we mined 82,774 coal in Lumbee Swamp West, also banking in Lumbridge. We had a task, and we achieved it. And I promise all of you watching out there, if it takes 1 month, 9 months, or 2 years, I'll be throwing myself headfirst into any future grind because I love doing this for you guys. And oh my god, I can't believe it's over. I know we still have so much smithing left to do, but I can't believe that I'm staring at these stacks right now. Look at that. Doing this smithing after mining feels like going from a sprint to a jog. This is beautiful. It's a little bit AFK and a lot more chill. I actually have some company now. My boy Angry Chunk is grinding along here with me. He's slowly working on 40k bronze bars. He's in sort of a similar situation to me. So I'll pop his channel up here on the screen. He's a serious grinder. Go follow him. He deserves some more love on here. We knew the smelting process would take a while, but it's actually much better than I had originally thought. The tracker in the top left corner is a bit off. We're averaging about 450 bars an hour, which isn't too bad. We should have this grind finished up in about 92 or so hours, which sounds like a while, but at this juncture of the chunk, that is nothing at all. You guys have already had to watch a lot of questionably interesting content, so we're going to try to make quick work of this smithing grind in terms of this video. We're already at 56 out of 70 smithing at this point, which is really great. I feel like I could do this forever, but I won't have to do it forever because we're already at 10k bars, just over 30k more to go. Alright, this one goes out to all my round number enjoyers out there. You know who you are. With this level, we only need to grind 10 more and then we finally escape this death chunk. 10 more levels to go until hopefully we're able to open up the map a little bit, mix up our grinds. I can't bloody wait. 10,000's cool, but we now have 15,000. And hey, 15,000 is cool, but it's sure no 20,000. Just under halfway through the smithing gauntlet. And what's better than 20k? Yeah, you guys get it. You guys get it by now. We are looking at 25k. Look at it. Look at it. We haven't done a level checkup in a bit, so now would probably be a good time. Here is 65 smithing. Feeling like a big dog. I can finally make some new best in slot goods once we eventually roll an anvil here. What if I told you we only have 10,000 more bars to go? Would you believe me? I mean, you should, since I'm literally showing it to you. I'm starting to get that feeling in my stomach. You know, when you're on the verge of something great. I think some people call it hope. And I hope we'll be done with this very soon. There's another big level coming in here, and it's got me really interested as to what's coming next. We are now days, maybe a week away from completing the largest grind of my life, and I'm just excited to see what we're going to be doing next. I'll do a full breakdown of rollable chunks once I hit 70. There are some really nice chunks, and there are also some chunks that would just be awful, guys. So stay tuned, we'll see what we get. But right now we're getting 68 smithing, which allows us to craft mithril plate bodies, meaning that's all the mithril items done. Adamant is on the way. We are so close. So close. We're almost 9 months into this chunk, and the only thing holding me back is one more measly smithing level. There is very nice 69 smithing coming in there. Nice, nice, nice. You guys gotta realize this is 9 months of my life, so I am gonna milk this just a little bit longer. Let's check out how much we have left. 1,000 more bars to make. It is absolutely crunch time. Let's get this done. Look, I'm hardly going to let this get to me at this point, but the nature of using a PvP world to smith means that you're probably going to get picked off a few times, and I did. As you can see, we're 99.4% of the way to our goal, basically there, but our ore stores have run a little bit dry, so let's go get a few inventories each and take this home. This is it. The climax of a journey that's consumed 9 months, 1,166 hours of relentless effort, every swing of the pickaxe, every bar smelted by hand. It all leads to this singular moment. 70 smithing, forged entirely from steel bars, no shortcuts, every ore mined, every bar smelted, earned through blood, sweat, and sheer will. We have finally conquered the mountain. After all this time, I can finally breathe. But our story isn't over just yet. One final challenge remains: to extract adamantite from the earth and forge it into a bar. The last task of this colossal chunk. Let's finish what we started. As we begin the slow and unforgiving task of mining this adamant rock, I just want to take a minute to thank each and every one of you. 9 months ago, we rolled into what felt like a death sentence of a chunk, one that nearly derailed the entire series. It was slow, it was brutal, and at times I questioned if it was even worth continuing. But here we are. Against all odds, we pushed through, and while it might not have been the most thrilling arc in terms of pacing, I hope the sheer weight of this accomplishment, the grind, the perseverance, delivers even a fraction of the dopamine that it's given me. This was a mountain, and we climbed it. Now with this chunk nearly behind us, all we can do now is hope for a string of good rolls ahead. It's finally time to push forward to get back to what this journey was always supposed to be about, saving Gillinor from the Majorat. After one final walk back from Lumbridge Swamp, we finally accomplished what we set out to do 9 months ago. Our adamant bar is smelted, our chunk task is complete, our death chunk has been bested, and it's finally time to roll a new chunk. Wish me luck, guys. God knows I'm gonna need it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's been a long time, and I want to make sure that you guys are all aware of what the map looks like and what kind of chunks we can roll moving forward. We have 8 rollable chunks, and like most chunk roll situations, we have some potentially great rolls, and we also have some potentially pretty damn bad rolls, like really bad. So let's talk about each of them, starting with the ones I would love to hit first. First up, we have North Alcaharid. This would be a great chunk to allow us to begin to expand into the desert. It would also give us access to a gem shop, which would give us a more reliable crafting method than balls of wool and sinew like we currently have. And on top of that, the only other task we would need to complete is part 1 of the feud, so this chunk is basically free. Next up, we have Groat's Farm. This is an absolutely nothing chunk, but again, some chunks like this would be really nice to open up the map a little bit. Not that it matters for us until we get a seed source, but it also has a hops patch up there. Continuing upwards, we have the Varrock South Gate. For all intents and purposes, another free chunk. There are some very minor diary tasks in the area. We'd need to pickpocket a guard, but we already have the thieving to do so that wouldn't be a problem. The thing that makes this chunk really nice is the fact that rolling it would give us access to Dark Wizards, which would be our most reliable mob to farm runes on before we finally gain access to a rune shop. Next up, good old Draenor Manor. Another nothing chunk. No tasks here at all, but opening it up would of course give us future access to some early game quests like Vampire Slayer and Ernest the Chicken. And the last chunk I wouldn't mind rolling is the companion to my much explored Lumbridge Swamp West, Lumbridge Swamp East. Another fairly easy chunk. We'd finally unlock a fishing method and need to do a small amount of training to catch a fish spawn. We could complete Missile and Mystery and get a little bit further into Restless Ghost. And of course we also unlocked Death's Domain, where we would need to purchase the 200,000 gold Angel Gravestone, but we have enough cash from the initial fletching grind we did on the account all those months ago, so that wouldn't be a problem either. So there you have it. 5 out of 8 chunks are chunks that I would love to roll, so the odds, at the very least, are in our favor. However, the 3 remaining chunks would put us on a very familiar grind. Now that we have access to smelting adamant, the second we unlock an anvil, we are going to get sent into a terrible 88 smithing grind to smith an adamant plate body, which would basically mean doing the same grind that we just did all over again, which as you can imagine sounds pretty freaking awful. Of the 3 anvil chunks, the preferable one would be West Varrock. Not only would we gain access to a much closer bank to the Champions Guild in the Varrock West Bank, we'd also gain access to one of the closest anvils in the game to a bank. So it's still going to be a massive pain in the ass, but this chunk would at least be the path of least resistance through that smithing grind. The last 2 chunks are the worst case scenario. Both prove to likely be the same length or longer than the death chunk we've just completed. The first of those problem chunks is Draenor Village North. Of course, we would have to do the same smithing grind that we would have had to do in Varrock, but it gives us one of the worst anvils in the game to do so. The anvil we would unlock in this chunk is Draenor Sewer, meaning that our smelting trips would start at Lumbridge Castle Bank, then we'd have to walk all the way to North Draenor, go underground, and walk the rest of the way to the anvil before turning back around to Lumbridge. I'm not gonna lie, it would be absolutely awful, but not the worst case scenario because our last rollable chunk would shake us to the core. Last up, we have Draenor Village South. Now, Draenor South has a lot of the pitfalls that North Draenor has. There is still an access point to the Draenor Sewers, so we would still be using the Draenor Sewer Anvil. But the added beast of this chunk is that we'd also have to add the entire forestry grind on top of the smithing grind. An RNG grind that is notorious for shackling unlucky chunkers. A small bonus to this chunk, however, is the fact that we gain access to Draenor South Bank, meaning much shorter trips to the anvil, which would honestly save a ton of time. But there you have it. We have a 62.5% chance to avoid another huge smithing grind, so I need all of you out there to throw up a quick prayer, like the video and subscribe to see more of what's to come. Alright, let's head over to the chunk picker and see what comes next. Oh, please, something good. Alright, I'm gonna click it. I clicked it. Please, please. Draenor North. That's gonna be the underground smithing grind. The one that I just told you I didn't want to do. Oh my god. Even though the chances were in our favor, it didn't work out. And honestly, I was quite sad for a few days after this one. Not only are we going right back to the mining and smithing grind, but we're going back to it with one of the worst anvils in the game. One Chunk Man is an amazing game mode. It forces you to appreciate and enjoy, or at least outlast, every aspect of the game. This changes everything has become a bit of a meme, but every action you take, every item you acquire, every chunk you roll truly does change everything in this. And it's with a heavy heart that I announce that this is the end of Chunk Quest. I can't go through what I just went through again. 9 months of some of the most insane grinding of my life. To get through that, only to be told you gotta go back and do the same thing over and over again. That's too much for me. But I do want to thank everybody out there for watching. Thank you for the support and love. It's been really fun. Farewell. You guys didn't actually think we were just gonna piece the fuck out, did you? Let's go check out the new chunk. Welcome to Draenor North, our home for the time being. The chunk itself has some great stuff, but not all of it's yet accessible. We obviously have the Draenor Sewer and the Draenor Sewer Anvil that will be the main focuses of this chunk. We have access to the Draenor Village Agility course. However, without South Draenor, we only have access to the first 2 obstacles, and with no way of turning around on a rooftop course, that's not going to be much use to us yet. We can also now access our first Slayer Master, Spira. However, without the completion of Porcine of Interest, there's nothing Spira can do for us yet. We also have the start to Vampire Slayer, but that's nothing more than just the start of Vampire Slayer at this point. So that's the chunk. There isn't much else other than, of course, the copious amount of smithing we're going to need to get done. Let's not talk about that yet. It's pretty hard to feel like this isn't just a giant kick in the nuts to get thrown right back into the hell I just escaped. But I've said it many times, this is the game we play, and as one chunkers, we really can't complain we did this to ourselves. You need to look at the positive, and the positive here is that after this is all done, all the rocks, all the bars, all the sweat, we're gonna be rocking full adamant. We're gonna be looking hella 2004 scary, man. But ultimately, guys, there are just a few tasks to complete before we end the video today, so let's jump into those so we can all enjoy something slightly different before mining and smithing comes to rear its ugly, ugly head. We're starting off here in the chicken pen. We were at 10 ranged, I think, before we started, so you can count on us getting a lot of levels here. Not only are we going to need a good stock of feathers for the copious amount of steel arrows we're going to be making, but we're also going to need 46 range in order to wield adamant bolts, so no better place to start than here. Just got the most goated XP event, and now we have a Tome of Knowledge. There is only one skill I can see us putting these into, and that's certainly smithing for the next time being. Here's one that's certainly been a long time coming. 31 range, but more importantly, 1000 total level. Chunk Quest is officially a 4-digit Chad. So we're taking a pause on the chickens and heading over to cows. Not only do they have a bit more HP and are a little bit nicer to kill, but we also just found a bit of an unexpected chunk task. Because we've secured leather chaps from clue scrolls, unlocking an anvil means we need to grind to 44 crafting using sinew in order to craft some studded chaps. So we're going to need to collect something like 3,000 beef right quick. Let's knock it off. A few days later, here's 42 crafting. I mean, this has been taking a couple days, but we could have been doing balls of wool, which are only 3 experience, which would have been so much worse, so lucky we have Sinew. Here is 50 range, and that's going to let us use the fabled magic short bow. Whenever we do get a magic tree in our chunk, or maybe a really fortunate clue, that's going to be a sick ranged upgrade. 43 crafting coming in, which means we can cut diamonds. Now this is a bit of an awkward one, because I was technically supposed to cut a diamond in our last chunk, but after I entered it on the picker as a cut diamond by mistake, I didn't get the task. But also come to think of it, we should have a ton of gems from the mining grind that we can use to push us over the edge of 44 crafting. Let's see how far those get us. Yeah, this is going to feel good after all that sinew, guaranteed. Yeah, those are certainly some XP rates I could get used to. There is 44 crafting, and we can officially deck ourselves out in full studded. This is going to be our very first time headed into the Draenor sewer, but honestly, we'd better get used to the run over here because we're going to have to do it these thousands of times soon enough. That's a big run, man. Kind of awful, but here we go. Let us do our very first work on an anvil on this account to craft some studs for these chaps and body. Wow, I haven't seen this menu for a while. Look at all the different stuff that we have access to now. That's crazy. I guess we start out with some studs, though. We're going to need 2 for these, and then I guess we create maybe some arrow tips or something. Something else fun. We have so much access to stuff now. That's really cool. But yeah, we'll use the studs on the hard leather body here, and you can only use it on a normal body. Okay, well then at the very least, we're going to make our studded chaps. So that is a chunk task complete. Look at these studded chaps. Very cool. Looking good. Not that it's a chunk task, but it is pretty sick looking matching set. Full studded. Here it is. Looking good. Does anyone want a nice strong hug? Diary task to cast a Lumbridge teleport. Easy peasy. Welcome home. Folks, there is not much left to do before we're forced to get started on the mining and smithing grind, but before we break off today, we do have a couple of small chunk tasks to complete. I know I didn't go too in-depth on the tasks in this chunk yet, and honestly, that's probably just going to be for next episode. I'm just trying to tack a little bit of extra fun on top of this, just to show some variance that we didn't just mine the entire chunk. Here's another simple task completed just for starting Vampire Slayer. Nice and easy. And in the theme of sticking with the easy stuff, here's another diary task checked off to kill a zombie in my new home down here, the Draenor sewers. And with that, folks, we are finished up all of the easy tasks in our new chunk, which means 2 things. 1, I'd better buck the fuck up and get ready to do this. And 2, it's time to check out our progress this episode. Here are our stats at the end of the Champions Guild Death chunk. I'll add the extra tasks we worked on into the next episode, but for now, we have spent 1,166 long hours in the Champions Guild chunk. We now have a whopping 91 mining and 70 smithing. With everything that we're about to dive into, you can expect those numbers to continue to climb. But folks, that is going to do it for today's episode. Thank you so much for coming along on the journey. I know this chunk took forever, and I know this isn't going to be getting any faster headed into the next chunk. I do dream of the days when we can get into more realistic flow for the series, but realistically, once I get past this chunk, there isn't going to be a lot that's going to significantly slow us down. If you want to come along on my journey to save Gielinor from the blight of the Mazzaroth, there's no better way to do it than clicking like and subscribe to give us a little bit of a boost. But until we meet again, folks, stay grinding, stay thirsty. We'll talk soon. Just finding Chunk Quest? Check out the playlist to see what you've missed. We won't disappoint.